What are the top 5 things a filmmaker should look for in a distributor?
The first one, I would say for any business deal, but it's really, really hard to gauge, is honesty. Like, how do you gauge honesty? How do you gauge that in a partner? How do you gauge that in a friend, you know, in anybody? So it would be great if there was an honesty test, but honesty is the most important thing. Like, trust/honesty. You just want to do business with people who you can trust and who you think will be honest with you. So sometimes you would gauge it through reputation. You might ask other filmmakers, you know, how they did, you know, like you can say to the distributor, who else did you distribute for? Can you give me some references, some other filmmakers? Of course, they'll give you the ones that went well, not the ones that were mad at them. But you could ask, you can go on a website, you know, their website, see all the different films, maybe look up some of the producers of those other films and, you know, and email them or phone them, contact them and say, hey, did you get a fair deal? How did it go? And get it. That's how you would gauge that. But then again, that's perspective from somebody else, but at least it gives you a sort of a good test. Their business acumen, like, do they seem professional? Does their website look professional? Is their office organized? Are they, you know, professional in getting back to you on time and communicating with you? You can sort of tell if people are acting professionally or not. And if they're not professional, chances are they're maybe not professional with their clients, and they're going to be a pain to deal with. So hopefully, they don't have to be the biggest and the nicest office. They don't have to have expensive offices in Beverly Hills. It's got to seem to be organized, and you have to get the impression that they know what they're doing, you know, and that they treat you with some respect, hopefully. Even if you're not the biggest client, you know, how hard is it to return, you know, an email or something like that? What is their breadth, their reach into the marketplace? Have they been at it for a while? Do they have the customer base that they actually say? Can they get to streamers? Can they get to broadcasters? Can they get to international territories? Can they really do what they claim they're going to do? And so that's also maybe a question you ask some other filmmakers, or, you know, maybe you could look them up. It's amazing when you Google people, you know, and companies, what you can find out. It's easier for me because I go to the markets. So like, I see if they're there. I see if they have booths there. I see what their stands look like. I see them in cocktail parties and meetings, you know. It's much easier when you're in the business to know if they're in the business and sort of what their breadth is. And you can also talk to other people, like other producers in other countries and something like that, and say, or other distributors, do you know them? Have they done business? What do you think? Da 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 da. So you can also try to gauge that as much as possible. Their track record on reporting. Reporting's a big thing, because even if they're doing the business and they're not telling you about it, you know, it's aggravating. I'd say that's one of the major complaints that indie film producers have with distributors, is they don't report. You never know what's going on. And when they do report, it's usually fabricated, you know. So that's the honesty thing we talked about before. So you want to see that what their reports look like, that they, you know, you want to sort of get some type of indication that they're going to be regular and honest with you. And then the last one would be, I guess, their distribution deal. What kind of deal they're offering? You know, does it feel like it's a fair deal? Do they feel like they're trying to hose you? Do you feel like you can even make any money with it? Again, they're in business to do the best deal that they can for themselves, but does it feel like, you know, you have a shot with them? And hopefully you need to get some advice to make sure that you make the right deal with them, because it's not their responsibility for you to make the right deal. I mean, some people take it upon themselves to make sure that the deal's totally fair. I mean, I have this adage that I always said. I'm really big on fairness. Fairness is a huge theme for me in my life. I always say a good deal, and I learned this on the distribution side, not on the production side. A fair deal, not a good deal. A good deal is whatever works for you. A fair deal is one where you sit on this side of the table and you negotiate, and you have to, everybody compromises, but you get to something that you're comfortable with, and then you switch places, and on that side of the table, you're equally comfortable. And both people feel equally compromised, but equally comfortable. That's a fair deal. It's unfair when somebody gets it all and somebody's left with nothing. And it doesn't have to be equal. you just have to feel that it's fair.
How can a filmmaker negotiate a fair deal with a distributor?
Well, in order to negotiate a fair deal, you got to know what to ask for. I mean, if you don't ask for the right things, you're probably not going to get them. Like, fair is fair, right? I keep saying it's not the distributor's obligation to make sure you get the fair deal. It's your obligation. So you have to either surround yourself with people who know what they're doing or figure it out yourself, know what you're doing. That's any negotiation. You got to know what to ask for or you're not going to get it. Don't assume somebody's going to put it on the table unless you ask for it. So, you got to do some homework or you got to hire somebody to do it for you.
Then don't get mad if you got a bad deal because maybe you didn't ask for the right things.
No, you're allowed to get mad. Everybody gets mad. I mean, that's part of being human. But be mad at yourself. That's who you need to be mad at. Mad at yourself. I mean, it's hard to get mad at yourself when you didn't even know. It's not like you knew and you left it out. You forgot. You didn't even know. So you're mad, I guess, at the circumstances. But it's your obligation it's your obligation to your movie. Say your movie's like your child and you want to protect it. It's your obligation to protect your movie and make sure that you either let somebody who knows what they're doing do it for you or know what you're doing, figure it out, and don't leave yourself short.
So no one's going to come in and say, well, listen, we're not being fair on our end. Really what we should, most filmmakers get this, even if the filmmaker on the other end of the table didn't ask for that. If you didn't ask for it, kind of like all is fair in war and love, then it's not going to happen for you. You have to really know what it is that you are actually defending against or trying to get, and they're not going to suggest it for you.
Listen, most distribution agreements should start off relatively reasonable, but they're not always. It's your obligation to make sure that you get it to the total reasonable and fair place.
Sure.
I mean, I would think after years and years and years of doing it that distributors would hopefully not take too much advantage, but they do. And it's not their fault. You gotta, you spend all this time, effort, and money making your movie. Spend a little bit of money getting it represented properly and distributed properly. It's just as important. In some ways, it's more important.